Here we presents the top 5 best stereo receivers. Starting at number 5, Yamaha RX V4A 2020 marked the year that we saw a somewhat bigger leap in terms of actual features as the arrival of HDMI 2. One brought with it some major new technologies in the new AV receiver models. But other than that and a few other smaller additions, we basically were getting the same old models we saw in 2019. Yamaha seems to be the only company that turned a few heads as they announced some of their HDMI 2.1 equipped units that also brought a complete redesign, which is certainly a breath of fresh air. And today in our Yamaha RX V4A review we will be looking at their most budget-friendly unit and what it brings to the table. Until now, just by following the naming it was easy to distinguish which model replaced which, but Yamaha decided to change the name codes for 2020, so it is more difficult to understand where the RX V4A really fits in. By looking at the specs, the unit seems to be replacing the RX V485, and while many of the specs are similar, there are a few very notable differences that we will discuss shortly. So basically there is no model the RX V4A really replaces, and as it is, it sets its own set of specs and features it goes with. The receiver is the last unit in Yamaha's lineup and only supports 5.2 channels, so obviously the kind of setups you can go for are rather limited. Buying such a receiver means that you also going to use its surround capability, so while you can create a 2.0, 2.1 or even a 3.1 channels audio setup, you are most probably aiming for a surround system with 2 surround speakers, which is the best you can go for. Yamaha seems to be the only manufacturer that really tried to make their latest series feel like it's something new. Although in terms of general specs the RX V4A is not deviating much from what we saw in the RX V485, the arrival of the new HDMI 2.1 seems to have made them think it was time for a fresh look. For more information and price, check out the product links in description. At number 4. Sony STR-DN1080. With the rise of soundbars, could AV receivers be on the way out? Ask any home theater enthusiast, and they'll tell you no. But for many buyers a massive, black, input-infested box is much more intimidating than a skinny bar. Sony manages to counter the increasing complexity of the modern receiver with its STR-DN1080. Though it boasts the wealth of features and inputs typical of the breed, the company has applied a user-friendly sheen to help the receiver appeal to both newbies and old hands. While Sony's receivers from the last decade really pushed the bar when it came to design with their bulldog-like visage, more recent models have been a little less striking. The design of the STR-DN1080 is pretty blocky. It's a solid, rectangular box with a thin glossy strip for a readout. It comes with a volume knob and a smaller selector knob next to it. One thing that you wouldn't notice, unless you put the receiver next to last year's, as we did, is that the 1080 is a little smaller than the 1070. Peering inside both, we didn't notice much difference in the internals of the 1080, it's just that the new model seems to manage empty space better. Receivers on screen displays languished in a user-hostile jail for much longer than on any other home cinema gadget. Blocky white text on a black background? Yuck. So when you come across something as lovely as the Sony's interface, it almost erases memories of the past. Big friendly tiles on the front, and readable text once you get one level in. The only downside is that the streaming services need a phone to work, no point and click with your remote. Halfway of my listed number 3, Marantz NR1200. At first glance, the Marantz NR1200 looks like another member of the company's successful range of slimline AV receivers, and shares the exact same dimensions. It has a few extra knobs spread along its front panel, but half close your eyes and you might think it was the 7-channel NR1710. Yet there are 3 aspects of the specification that are rather more noteworthy. The first is that the NR1200 can be connected to a network and use Sound United's HEOS platform to play material from network drives or streaming services. The second is that it has 2 dedicated subwoofer outputs, with an adjustable crossover, that should make using a sub-SAT system, or simply bolstering your existing speakers, rather easy. The NR1200 has 5 4K HDR-capable HDMI inputs, and a single HDMI output with ARC for simple connection to a TV. This is, therefore, effectively a 2-channel AV receiver, offering of the spec and functionality that an existing AVR owner will be used to, but just with outputs to a pair of speakers rather than 5, 7, 9, etc. Where the NR1200 gains ground is when you switch back to listening to music. With a budget for amplification spread over 2 channels, rather than 5 or 7, the results are excellent, both running as a 2-1 system and plain old stereo. Coming in at number 2. EchoLink Amp. The EchoLink Amp is designed to give Echo owners options. Instead of settling for the sound from a couple of Echo speakers, this amp lets owners use a set of nice bookshelf speakers. Best yet, this replaces a large receiver generally needed to power speakers. At $299, the EchoLink amp lives in a curious spot. It's less expensive and smaller than a traditional home audio system. Yet it's more expensive than smaller desktop amps with a similar power rating. Like its little brother, the $199 EchoLink, the $299 EchoLink amp requires another Echo device. The Link and the Link amp lack a microphone, which is needed to talk to the system. These two products are, if you will, the missing link between Alexa and better sound. It's finally nice outside here in Michigan. The sun is out and the leaves are budding. I'm writing this from my deck, where I have 2 Yamaha speakers connected to a small amp and an Echo Dot, which are mounted to the floorboards. It's the best. I can yell requests to the Dot from my fire pit. The Dot and $30 amp have survived 2 Michigan winters too. This is the perfect use case for the EchoLink amp, though I'm sure Amazon will disapprove of the placement outside. That's okay. The EchoLink amp is a lovely device, even though I find the audio quality lacking when compared to less expensive amps. It's clever and I'm surprised Amazon is selling the device. While the rest of the Echo product line is a mass market play, the EchoLink and EchoLink amp are designed for a smaller market. The EchoLink amp features a set of functions unavailable on any other Echo device in the easiest way, to add Alexa to a set of speakers. For more information and price, check out the product links in description. And number 1. Yamaha RS202BL. For a while, we've struggled for any great wealth of budget stereo amplifiers we can wholeheartedly recommend. Yamaha appears to have taken it upon itself to expand that list in recent months, and its latest integrated amplifier, the RS202D, is another welcome example. In most other situations, the term budget might signify a stripping back of features, or a scaling down of the attention to detail, but the RS202D is only budget in terms of its price tag. Where the RS202D does have mass market appeal, however, is in its range of features. Bluetooth is arguably the most important one, meaning you only need to add a comparatively priced and comparably talented pair of speakers to create a basic, but worthy, system. There is also an FM/AM radio tuner built in, and, on the UK model we have on test here, DAB radio too. The US model drops the DAB tuner, and hence the D from the name, but that's the only marked difference between the two. Those speaker terminals sit just to the right of 4 stereo RCA inputs, and 1 line out on the back of the unit. The front, meanwhile, is reserved for the volume dial, a strip screen displaying input information, headphone output and buttons for switching between speakers, inputs and tweaking bass and treble response. If that's the kind of build and feature set you'd expect from Yamaha, the RS202D's sonic performance will be equally familiar. It is a marginally more forward presentation than we heard from the similarly priced AS301, but it retains that even-handed, pleasantly mellow bent without coloring the music too much. The Yamaha RS202D represents a worthy alternative for those seeking a smooth sound and wireless connectivity on a budget. I have included these product link in the description. You can check out this link for more information and latest price. Thank you for watching this video. Please hit the like button, share with your friends, and be sure to subscribe.